Hello and welcome to episode 61 of the All Things Leeds podcast, the second episode of self-isolation. I'm NkGhTg, and still joining me over video call is my co-host, Charles Foster. Charles, hello.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Yeah, you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just had a bit of a weird day, that's all.
Yeah, another week in self-isolation. How's it all been for you?
It's just, you don't really do much, do you? Just every day is kind of the same. You kind of forget what day it is. I was having a chat with me mum and dad the other day, and I couldn't remember what day it was.
Yes, Wednesday today.
Yeah, my dad thought it was still Monday.
Yeah, I keep forgetting what day it is as well. It's a very, very weird time. Of course, before we move on to anything, I do just want to say, please, everyone, follow the rules, the advice from the government. Stay at home as much as you can to save lives and help the NHS. A big thank you to all the NHS workers, actually, as well. The clap for the NHS last weekend was fantastic. Did you take part in that, Charles?
I did not, because I didn't check social media for that entire day because I was busy out doing stuff, so I kind of missed it.
Yeah. But, I was picking my sister up from work, so I missed it, unfortunately. But, the NHS workers, they're fantastic, horrible time right now. And, it's really good, all the key workers. Big thank you to all the key workers out there. As we keep saying on this podcast, this period is going to affect many people's mental health. So if you are struggling, if you're, feeling lonely during self-isolation, if you need anyone to talk to, message me or Charles. Our DMs are open, or you can call Samaritans on 116 123. And yeah, hopefully we can offer, some light relief with our content during difficult and unprecedented times. But yeah, Charles, another week in lockdown. I think it's around a week and a half in lockdown now. How are you doing now?
I'm going a little
getting
bit
used to it.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, in the same way, like you kind of feel a bit melodramatic. You kind of feel like you're just to like your first week in prison, aren't you? It just kind of feels like you just kind of sat about not really doing anything.
Yeah.
Apologies. A bit of a technical malfunction there. Yeah, so I've just been doing uni work and watching Netflix series and stuff like that, and reading books and listening to audiobooks and music, and that's kind of all I've been doing, really.
Yeah. I'm just slowly getting used to being in lockdown and self-isolation, because this is our life now for the next however long. You could be, they were saying the other day it could be 6 months, so could be in for a very long time locked in our houses, unfortunately. But yeah, same as you. I've just been doing university work because we've still got that to do. Watching a lot of series. What have you been watching?
I watched that English game series on Netflix. That was all right. It was all about the kind of build up to the formation of the football league. Yeah. If you're missing your football, go watch that, because that's. I mean, a lot of it is kind of drama as well, but there is some football stuff in there, so that's quite good. I started watching that new Sunderland Till I Die series today. I've got 2 episodes in. I'm enjoying that, because that's makes me feel a bit better about how ridiculous my club is, seeing other clubs in in similar strange situations. But yeah, I've just been kind of watching them kind of series. Of what else I've been watching? Kind of off the top of it, I've just been kind of like just picking random films off. When you build up like a list on Netflix or Amazon, you just think, I've been meaning to watch that. Might as well do it now, because there's nothing else to do. Just been watching that, so I've just been kind of catching up on all my films I've been meaning to watch. You've been doing the same?
Yeah, I've just been watching, some Netflix series as well. I haven't started Sunderland Until I Die yet. I'm meaning to start that. I've been binge watching the Office USA version, because that is really good, and I've never watched that. I've always seen clips of it, and I've always been like, it looks all right. I might have to give it a go. And I've been watching it from the first episode. I'm on like season 3 now. It's brilliant. I love it.
No, I prefer the UK version myself.
I never got into the UK version, the UK version of The Office. I never really liked it, because, they would put jokes in there, but they wouldn't make it seem like, we've just told a joke, you need to laugh. It was like, really subtle. The humour is on failure, really, and it's, it's a lot more dark, it's a lot more dull. For, a young person think the US version's a lot more better. It's a lot more silly. It's very funny. It's a sitcom. They say that it's the sitcom that David Brent never wanted for the UK version. I think they're both good versions, but for me, the US version's just better. But I'm loving it.
No, but I've got quite a dark and cynical temperament anyway, so I like the UK version.
Yeah, so do I. But I just think the US version is just a lot more brighter, really. In comparison, I just prefer it for some reason.
I don't watch TV for people to have brighter and better lives than me. I like to watch misery when I watch TV. It makes me feel better. So, in the nicest possible way, I like to watch TV programs that involve failure, and That's why I like a lot of British TV, because a lot of British TV is kind of based on people just being terrible at things and it being amusing because of how bad they are at stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas America,
I think we. Right, go on.
It's all right.
I think we should address your setup at the moment, because your camera's now fallen down twice in this recording.
Apologies.
So just explain what is your setup right now?
Well, my laptop is currently broken because the mouse isn't working. My dad's laptop that I borrowed is also not working now for some reason, even though it was working on Monday when we tested this. So now I'm using my phone balanced up against the laptop on top of 4 cushions while I'm sat on my sofa, obviously with my curtains behind me. So I'm literally doing a balancing act to try and stop this thing from falling over. So apologies for technical difficulties that may occur during this podcast.
i.e. the camera falling down.
i.e. me losing my balance temporarily and the camera falling, which I'm trying to avoid as much as possible. But if I lean it too far back, then the camera's just pointing at the ceiling, and if I lean it too far forward, then the camera will just fall over. So I've got to find the perfect balance.
Yeah, maybe just hold it. I don't know. But we'll work for it.
I can't hold something steady for an hour though, can I? That's the thing.
No, not at all. But yeah, I've just been watching, binge watching the Office US version. There's also been some live football on the Belarusian Football League. That's still being played for some reason. The president's just a nutter, basically. He's come out and said that vodka and saunas will kill the coronavirus, basically, is what the Belarus president is saying. So he's not cancelling anything.
He's a moron.
Yeah,
really
he's just a nutter.
Yeah.
But some football to watch, really. You've also got the classic matches on as well on BT Sport and Sky Sports and whatever. Charles, have you got any tips to share for people who are going through lockdown and self-isolation? Any tips on coping with it?
Spend a lot of time in your garden. I found that to be helpful. If you spend time in your garden, you still feel like you're going outside, you're getting fresh air, you're getting sunshine occasionally.
Yeah.
Try to read more. I mean, I know some people don't enjoy reading, but I quite enjoy it, and it's something to do other than looking at a screen all the time, because people get a bit kind of worn out with screens. So yeah, read. Keep in contact with your friends and family as much as possible over Skype or phone calls, and make sure you do your daily exercise. Don't do that, because it really does help.
Yeah, everything that you've said, I completely agree. Exercise as well. I've been for a walk today and been going on a few runs as well. That it's fantastic. It takes your mind off things. Just going outside and doing your exercise, of course, keeping the 2 meter distance or whatever it is. I think it's 3 meter distance. But yeah, everyone's following the rules as well. I went for a walk earlier, and every time you were walking, about to walk past someone on the pavement, you'd either go out into the road or they'd go out into the road, because there's no one on the road, so you can have that big distance. So it seems like everyone around my area is all following the rules anyway. And yeah, going outside as much as possible, really, and also contacting friends, that gets you through it. Of course, do all the work that you need to. But yeah, just keeping in contact with friends, family, and going outside, doing your exercise, and it will pass the time quite a lot. And as you were saying, spending all day looking at a computer screen or phone, it really is quite, it's quite bad, really. Look at books as well, maybe. Well, moving on. As we discussed over the past couple of weeks, Leeds United have been streaming FIFA simulations on social media of the games that we should have been playing. Well, there was no stream at the weekend because, of course, it would have been the international break. And in fact, the charity match between the Leeds Legends and Bayern Munich Legends at Elland Road would have taken place last Saturday, the 28th of March. I've still not heard any communication on that whatsoever from the club, which I'm really annoyed about. I've bought tickets and everything. There wasn't even an announcement, oh yeah, the game's been cancelled, just to confirm it. Of course, we knew that it wasn't going to happen, but just an announcement to confirm that the game wasn't happening would have been great. And just some communication on, when it's likely to come back or whatever, or if you can get refunds or whatever, that would have been, quite nice to have, but there's no communication on that whatsoever. And I think the communication for the club has been quite poor during all this, really. But Leeds United, though, on Saturday tweeted out asking fans for their five-a-side team of past or present Leeds United players, which I thought, would be fun for me and Charles to do on this podcast. So we've put together our five-a-side teams of Leeds United players, past or present. Charles, start us off with your team. Who have you got?
Do you want to do my whole team, or we're going to do kind of goalkeeper, and then we'll go back and forth?
We'll go goalkeeping and defenders and stuff. We'll just go back and forth.
All right. I went Nigel Martin for goalkeeper. Obviously, yeah. Prior to our time, probably one of our best ever goalkeepers, and really well thought of at the fan base. And we arguably sold him too early. I think we got rid of him to Everton, which is a massive shame, because he went on to have a really good career with them as well. But yeah, obviously, I think he was capped for England as well. So yeah, really good player. So yeah. I'm thinking, obviously, not all the players are going to be in our era because we're only 21, so we're going to choose players from before and after our era. But this obviously goalkeepers before my era. So all right, you first.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about going Nigel Martin because he probably is the best goalkeeper Leeds United have had in recent history at least. But I actually went Elland Messier. Oh, I went with Messier because one, he's 20 years old, so he's young, and he's probably used to playing five-a-side football. He's probably played it quite a lot, in recent years. And I think in five-a-side as well, you need to be quick, and you need to have good distribution. And Messier has that. He's quick, he's got good distribution, and I think he'd be solid. Nigel Martin. I think football's changed so much, especially for goalkeepers. So many years ago, Nigel Martin, the goalkeepers, they didn't really have to pass out from the back. They didn't have to have good distribution and, play with their feet and, be quick either. They just saved a shot and just booted it long. Where, as nowadays, the goalkeeper is almost part of a defence, really. And in five-a-side, you pass it back to your goalkeeper. They have to get it out of their feet quickly. So I think Elland Messier would be a good option. And he's massive as well. So he'll just fill the entire goal.
I mean, yeah, you've clearly put a lot more thought into this, the specifics of five-a-side than I have. I just went for who I thought would be the best keeper, but fair enough.
No, I've gone with who's going to be good in five-a-side.
Are we going defender first?
Yeah, you go with defenders, because I struggled making my choice here.
Yeah, this is, I think I picked 3 past players and 2 present players. So I'm going to go for another past player who also was at Leeds before my time. I'm going to go the Chief.
Lucas
Radebe. Yeah, with Lucas Radebe in defence. Obviously, that's Radebe in his prime, not when his knees started to go. But
yeah,
obviously, one of our obviously club legend, still one of our best ever defenders over the years. So yeah, I've gone with the Chief. What have you gone for?
My first defender. So I've gone a 2-1-1 formation here. So one of my defenders is Stuart Dallas.
Is it now?
Yeah, 28 years old. He's probably played a fair share of five-a-side football. He's versatile. He can play anywhere. And in five-a-side, I think, you obviously have positions in five-a-side, but you don't really stick to positions. You run about, wherever you need to, really. And I think Dallas would be perfect at that. He never stops running. I think he's a good player. So Dallas for me, because he can defend and he can attack. He can score goals, and I think he'd be great. So Dallas for me. I've gone
for a 1-2-1 formation. So who's your other defender?
Oh, I was hoping that you would go with 2 defenders so I could, choose yours as well. Right, so I don't know, because I haven't got a left foot in my team so far yet. And I think that, Liam Cooper would be a good option. But I actually went with Pontus Jansson because, he's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's skillful, and I think that he just scare the living daylights out of the opposition. On a 5-side pitch, you've got Pontus Jansson in front of you. You're not messing with him.
I suppose not. No.
so I've gone with Pontus and Dallas. A strange back two, but we'll go with it. Midfielders, Charles. Who have you got?
Well, I've gone for two midfielders, and both are currently in the Leeds United squad. I've gone for Calvin Phillips and Pablo Hernandez in midfield. Because I've got the kind of defensive wall. He can help out. He can maybe drop into the 2-1-1 when they're defending, and then move into the 1-2-1 when they're attacking. So I've gone with Phillips there to do all the kind of clear up work, because there's a lot of clear up work and stopping counter attacks in 5-a-side. So I thought he'd be good at that. And I've gone for Pablo because you always need a skillful player just to turn it on in 5-a-side and just be the best player on the pitch.
I've gone with Pablo. Yeah, I've gone with Pablo Hernandez as well. I don't think it needs an explanation. He's one of the best, if not the best football player Leeds United have had for the past 10 years, really, past 10, 15 years. So, yeah, Pablo Hernandez in there. I was debating it because he is 34 years old now, and I don't think he'd be too, as fast and as quick.
He still does the murder ball sessions with Bielsa, though, so if you can do that, you can do 5-a-side.
Yes, so, yeah, Pablo Hernandez in our teams. You went two midfielders, right?
Yeah, so I said the other one was Calvin Phillips.
Calvin Phillips. Striker then, who have you got?
I went a bit kind of biased on this one. I went Luciano Becchio up front, just so I think just because his kind of ability in the air, his determination, just get the ball in the back of the net, I think would really do well in 5-a-side. And he loved running about and that. So there's a lot of running about in 5-a-side. So I think they'll be particularly up front. And just mainly because it's favouritism, because he's probably my favourite ever Leeds player. So in my time supporting the club.
When I first sorted out this team, I did have a play with, but because of recent news, I've had to take him out. Really, I did have Ross McCormack in there.
Yeah, have you kept him in?
No, I haven't. I've taken him out now because of recent news, obviously.
Recent news is I mean, there's a massive difference between Ross McCormack as a person and Ross McCormack as a footballer.
He was a fantastic footballer. He kept Leeds United up a number of years for me. He did. He was the main player. He did everything. Scored all the goals, created everything. He was just a fantastic player, and I think in 5-a-side he could do a really good job. He'd do a lot, really. So I did go with him, but of course, recent news, I've now taken him out, and I've gone the same with you, Luciano Becchio.
just a great player.
Yeah, and I think the Spanish link up as well with Pablo Hernandez. Of course, Becchio isn't Spanish, but he speaks Spanish because he's Argentinian. So I think those two will link up quite well, because Becchio doesn't really speak English, does he? So I think that having Pablo there is probably a good option. So yeah, that's it really, isn't it? We've gone through all 5 players.
I think so.
So yours is Nigel Martin. All right, run through yours for us, because
It's Nigel Martin, Lucas Radebe, Calvin Phillips, Pablo Hernandez, Luciano Becchio for a 5-a-side team. I think that's a very good team.
That's a good team. That is a good team. And mine is Ilya Meslier, Pontus Jansson, Stuart Dallas as the back two defenders. And then going forward, Pablo Hernandez, and then Becchio in front of him, which I don't think is too bad. I think your 5-a-side team would probably beat mine. But I think those are two very solid 5-a-side teams. A lot of thought in those. I think those have been quite good. Before we move on to some news, then. Big shout out to All Things Leeds website and blog writer Johnny Chick, who's released another phone pad song video. Of course, the first one was of the Clicker scoring goals chant. His new one, I don't think it's quite as good as the first one, but it is of the Phillips, the Yorkshire Perlo chant, which is very good. It's very clever. So yeah, go watch that if you can on Twitter. Johnny Chick, just search up the name and you'll probably find it. But yeah, really good creativity there. It brightens up your mood really if you're having a bad day in self-isolation, really. On some news now then, and last week we spoke about the communication between the club and its fans throughout this pandemic, really, and I don't think it's been too good. But we were saying, that they needed to do something about the season ticket, renewal deadline. They needed to extend it for the fans who can't afford to pay during this difficult time. And the club have now addressed it, which, I'm very pleased about. But they didn't really, they didn't address it until the day of a renewal, obviously, which I feel is quite poor. Announcing that the deadline is going to be extended on the deadline day, I don't think that's too good. And we first of all found out in a YEP article that was written by CEO Angus Kinnear, who wrote, he didn't really say much on it either. He just said in brackets, for those who simply can't renew due to circumstances, the window will obviously be extended. I don't think stating that in little detail in brackets without mentioning a new deadline, I don't think that's a great way to go about it, Charles.
No, I mean, the obvious part is not obvious, which is the first thing that hits me there. It's not obvious a club would extend its season ticket deadline. It's even less obvious when you don't tell them how long you're going to extend it for.
Yeah, exactly.
Or until. So it's weird and it's poor, and it should be an official club communication, not a YEP article from Angus Kinnear, who for some reason is communicating through a newspaper and which he doesn't work for, instead of the club which he does work for, which is very confusing.
It's a bit weird as well, and that photo of Angus Kinnear as well for the YEP article. He didn't look too happy, did he?
He's always got a bit of a strange face in photos. I mean, I'm not slagging Kinnear off because I actually quite like Kinnear, but
so do I.
I'm sure even he would agree he doesn't photograph very well. He's always got a bit of a kind of a strange, faraway look in his eye, or he's always, just pulling a strange face. I don't know whether he's just unfortunate with how people are angling his photos, or whether he's just not very photogenic. I'm not very photogenic, so I feel.
Yeah, I'm not either. Yeah, sorry, Angus, for that.
Yeah, that massive personal attack on you.
But yeah, I don't think that was a good way to go about it at first. I think that especially releasing the news on the deadline, I think that they could have done it a lot earlier. I think that would have been a lot better. But the club did eventually release a club statement, which is great. And they've said that those who haven't renewed yet will be emailed, which is fair enough. But as I said, they could have done it a bit earlier, and they could have announced when the new deadline is really, instead of just emailing season ticket holders who haven't. But it was good reading that statement though, because it said that 21,600 fans have renewed. That's 90%, which is just insane. Fantastic support. With supporters renewing their season tickets for a season, which we don't even know when it's going to start. A fantastic support, Charles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the club know that people are really kind of passionate about this project, and they really do want to see another season of Bielsa and another season of excellent football, hopefully in the Premier League, should this season get finished, and should Leeds obviously win enough games out of the last 9 to get promoted, which is not certain, as we know from last year. But yeah, it is phenomenal support, but you would think that after the deadline's been extended, that we might even get 100% renewal, which would be amazing. And I mean, obviously we got about I think it's the 5th or 6th price freeze in a row. Obviously the prices are still fairly high anyway. So
yeah, they're very high.
I think you need to take the price freeze with a pinch of salt, because we're not paying pennies to go see it. But yeah, I'm still very pleased with the level of support the fans are giving the club, and not just obviously literal support, but also financial support, because it'll give us more money to spend next year. Yeah,
I mean, the club, Angus Kinnear, he came out and he said that during this difficult time, he said that Angus Kinnear said that during this difficult time, the money on season ticket renewals is what's gonna help the club a lot during this difficult time, which was quite obvious. And it's good that a lot of people have over-renewed and they are helping the club in some way. They said that because 60% of people have renewed in the first month, it would have been unfair to extend the deadline, which I don't think it would have, because I mean the renewal window is so short anyway. It's like a month and a half, 2 months. Which is a really short. I don't know why not just do it until these tickets go on general sale. That's what I don't understand. But it's good that they've addressed it now. The renewal deadline extended, which is fantastic. And the club are getting there in terms of communication, to the fans during this difficult time. But yeah, we move on. In other news, it's been reported from an interview from 442 that Calvin Phillips has told Jose Mourinho, of course, Tottenham Hotspur manager, that he wants to stay at Leeds United for the rest of his career, following an approach from Tottenham. And Charles, if this is true, which it seems like it is, then great. Great.
I mean, I don't know how realistic this is, because obviously we're past the January transfer window, but we're not into the summer transfer window. We don't know whether Leeds are going to go up or not, and you would imagine that if we were to go up, that he would stay. Or there would be no reason for him not to stay. He would be on Premier League money, because I imagine the whole squad will be on bonuses if they go up. So, I mean, obviously you'll get more money at Tottenham than you will at Leeds. That's just a fact, because they've just got more money than we do. And you might get to play European football. I don't know where Spurs are in relation to the Europa League or anything like that. Or possible later on for the Champions League, maybe as unlikely as that seems. But yeah, I would like to believe that story. I would like to think that did happen, but that might be a bit of paper talk.
Yeah, I mean, obviously take it with a pinch of salt, but it does sound like it, like it is, from an actual interview with him. And it's fantastic news if it is true. And Calvin Phillips, he does strike me as that type of person. He strikes me as a genuine person. He's a Leeds lad. He loves Leeds. He's proud to be Leeds United lad. He's living out his dream, really. Leeds United fan playing for his boyhood club, probably the best player at that club right now. He's living out his dream, and he's doing his family proud. We've seen his family, on the documentary and on social media pages, and they all seem very proud, which they should be. And he's a Leeds lad, and I think that he is Leeds through and through, and he does strike me as that type of person. And he strikes me as another, as a player who would stay at his boyhood club for as long as he wanted, really. All of his career if he could. Like a Steven Gerrard type of player, really. He does strike me as that kind of person.
Yeah, but Steven Gerrard even flirted with Chelsea, didn't he? At one point in his career, he was considering leaving Liverpool for Chelsea. So loyalty will only go so far. It has to be matched by ambition of the club that you're in. And obviously Leeds are showing ambition at the moment to get promoted, but they'll have to, I imagine, to keep the players that we've got and to bring in new players, we'll have to show new ambition when we go up. Because I imagine the first season people will be happy with survival, but then you'll want people who want to go, like mid-table, and then regular mid-table finishers, and then, obviously top 10, kind of not top 10, top 8, maybe after a few years, if we stay in the Premier League and if we invest well. But yeah, so you have to match the loyalty with ambition. But you'd like to think that a lot of these players, given the support they've had and the kind of family feel at the club at the moment, they would consider staying for the long term.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if there's big time approaches made, then he probably will leave. And money talks. Money does talk. A player could say, "Oh, I love the club," but look at Beckford. What shirt am I wearing, bruv? Gets a big offer from Everton, and he goes to Everton, which you can't really blame him for, really. But yeah, money talks, and
he did address that in an interview though. Beckford, he was saying that the club weren't offering him anywhere near like decent terms for how many goals he was scoring, because obviously we had bad ownership at the time. So you can understand why players in that era would be more likely to leave. Ross McCormack as well, phoning up Sky Sports. But given the current ownership, you would like to think that, given they are far more reasonable than the ones we've had in previous years, that the players would consider staying, or think about the possibility of staying much more seriously than they have done in the past.
We've already seen a lot of players at the club now, commit their future long term with the club. The likes of Stuart Dallas, Liam Cooper, Luke Ayling, who said in a recent interview that he thinks that he'll probably stay in Leeds or Yorkshire, for the rest of his life or career, really, which is, of course, fantastic to hear. So, I do think right now, we've got a really good bunch of players, really good professionals, and
great bunch of lads.
They are, a lot.
What I could say.
It seems like there's a really good morale amongst the group now. I think a few years ago you're looking at our best players and you're like, you couldn't really blame them for wanting to leave Leeds, because we're doing dreadful. But right now we're doing good. We got some good people at the club. I think the players are really happy, and you'd hope that a player like Calvin Phillips would stay, because of course he's one of our best players. So hopefully that news is true. If it is, fantastic. But yeah, I think that a lot of players will stay. Even through this, if a season gets void and we have to spend another full season in the Championship, I think that a lot of players will stay because they'll understand the situation. You'd hope. Moving on then onto some other news. As we've discussed on the podcast before, the date for football to return in the UK is April the 30th. Whether that happens, we'll have to wait and see. I very much doubt it. But it does look like, the authorities, the EFL Premier League, do want domestic leagues to finish. As we said last week, the EFL came out and said that their primary objective is to deliver a successful conclusion to the 2019-20 season. And they've also provided a £50 million short-term relief and package to offer financial relief to clubs in for short term, which is of course fantastic. But it's been reported by Miguel Delaney, hopefully I'm pronouncing that name right, Miguel Delaney, chief football writer at The Independent. And he's saying that the Premier League are planning to move clubs into quarantine training camps, similar to World Cups, and play all remaining games in the Midlands during June and July, with all 92 games being broadcast live on TV. Now, obviously, take these reports with a pinch of salt. We don't know how reliable it is, but it sounds good. It sounds promising if that is true, Charles.
Yeah, promising in the sense that it seems like a sensible solution to kind of separate the players and the management staff and getting them obviously in a space where they can finish the season, and obviously Leeds may go up. That'd be good. Not so promising in the sense that it seems like they are more or less frantically flapping about trying to finish the season off rather than thinking what's best for the clubs and the fans, because it won't be good for League One and League Two fans. It won't be good for majority Championship club fans. Yeah. It'll be all right. It'll be all right for a couple of the richer parachute payment clubs in the Championship, and obviously all the Premier League clubs will be all right. But you'd think, well, if you're finishing the games anyway, where's all the revenue for all the smaller clubs?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they'd probably do some more support packages, really, like the EFL have done, and the Premier League have done as well. But I do think, just at least get the season finished. We've discussed this many times. If the games have to be played behind closed doors, then so be it. As long as the season is finished, that's the most important thing for me. Because just to keep everything intact, really. I don't see the point in prioritising a competition that hasn't started yet. It makes no sense. Just get the season finished. I don't care when the season resumes. I don't care if it's in June. I don't care if it's for another year or two, as long as this season finishes. Hopefully it's not another year or two, obviously. But whenever it is, whenever football returns, it needs to be the remaining games of this season for me. You can't exactly. It's the only fair way.
80% of something and then cancel it in favour of something that hasn't even begun yet.
Yeah. I mean, I still think that teams will... I think that teams will still complain. I don't think everyone's, not everyone will be happy with whatever decision's made. And I still think that a lot of teams will complain, especially the teams in relegation zones, such as Aston Villa and Norwich and the likes. They'll complain about it because, of course, they just want to stay in that league for another season.
Frankly, they can cry more because they deserve to go down.
Yeah, exactly. They've been poor.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, they've been poor for 75% of the season. They deserve to go down. Especially Norwich. I think they're already down for me. But it's the only fair reason. I think the majority of clubs would rather have the season, played out than the season just be null and void for me. And if the season is null and void, then what happens? With players who have scored goals, maybe got goal bonuses, do they need to give that money back? Will awards need to be given back? Season ticket holders, will we get our money back for for games that we've been to and stuff? There's all this. There's a lot of financial implications if the league's just null and void. It's not as simple as the league's just cancelled. It's not as simple as that. You've got a big process to go through and a lot of things to look at. And I think the only fair way for me is just to finish the season. I mean, of course, we have had the leagues below the National League, the National League North and South. All those leagues below them have been null and void. But I think that, we said it last week, further down the pyramid, it is more about people's health and further up it's all about money, which, as I don't think is right, but that it's just a fact really. And there's a lot more money at stake higher up. But the National League, though, the North and South leagues, they've been suspended indefinitely, which doesn't sound good. And Charles, there is a feeling there that it might be a domino effect because, of course, if some leagues are played out to a finish and there's teams in the relegation zone and they get relegated, it trickles down all the way to grassroots, really. You've got teams go up, teams who go down. So if you're in League Two, you're in the relegation zone, you get relegated if the season's played out, but the National League has been null and voided. Then what happens to those teams? Do they remain in League Two? It's a very complicated situation for me. What were your thoughts on all this, Charles?
Well, it reminds me of the way that the kind of MLS and the American, I use this word with the disdain, soccer leagues are run, where they don't have promotion and relegation. They just have, if you're in MLS, you either win the league or you come bottom of the league. People who come bottom don't go down. They just have a bad season. Yeah. And nothing ever moves. And it's kind of unfathomable for people that live in this country that you would just be the worst team in the league all year round and then just, never mind, we'll just do it again next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if you win the league, you think, well, that's fine, but does it mean anything if I can't go down? If there's no consequences for losing, then what is the point in trying to win?
Yeah, exactly. A team that strike, that strikes me, for a team, who's in the relegation zone, they're going to go down. It's Bradford Park Avenue in the National League North. Of course, I do a lot of work for Farsley Celtic and I look at that league a lot. And Bradford Park Avenue, they're pretty much already relegated. And, it just seems, baffling to me that we could be playing Bradford Park Avenue again in the next season. So, yeah, we've said it loads. The season needs to be finished. That's the only fair way, really, and the logical way, really. Why prioritise things that haven't happened yet? Just get the season finished whenever it is. But it does sound good. That the Premier League, VFL, it sounds like they want to get the season finished, and whatever way it can, just get it finished, really. Now let's move on to some questions then. Of course, last week we answered Barney's question, and after that, we asked everyone who is listening and watching right now to ask some questions, get some questions in, and we got a few comments on the on YouTube from the last episode. We got one from Liam Moore actually that asks, "Are you two twins?" What?
We
no,
look more different. We look absolutely nothing like each other.
Yeah, I know exactly. We got different last names as well, and if we were twins, we'd probably be living in the same house together, and so we wouldn't be doing this podcast over Skype.
No.
It was such a weird question.
That would be weird, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's getting that one from.
Yeah, that question made me chuckle. But no, Liam, we are not twins.
I'm trying to think why he would think that, because our voices don't even sound similar. We're not.
Yeah.
We're not.
It's just weird. I think it was just trying to be funny. But
unless he's on the wind up, you might be on a wind up. Yeah.
But no, we are not twins. But a good question though, which I felt we should probably answer on the podcast. Here is from Jive091, and he asks, "Do you lads think we will be on fire when we actually do get this season going again?" And I thought that was a great question. It's interesting. Charles, what are your initial thoughts? Will we be on fire again when the season starts up again?
Well, I'm of the opinion, I don't think this is an unfair opinion, that we are probably the fittest team in the EFL.
100%.
Pardon?
100%.
Yeah. So, also, we start every season, we've started every season so far under Bielsa on fire. The first few games are always brilliant. We're always really high tempo, and the players are always really up for it. It would depend whether or not, like if they did this football camps in the Midlands thing, if they said to all the clubs, all right, you've got 2 weeks to train and get back up to fitness, and then we'll play the games. I think if they did that for everyone, I still think, I think we would go back into it immediately on fire. I think if they just pulled it out of the blue and said, all right, you lot are playing Saturday, we would see some interesting results as to which teams kept fit and which teams hadn't. It would really depend on the circumstances of which they finish the season to answer the question for me. I do think we would be good, because we are always good when we're starting a new section of the season, or either at a start or starting a run. I think we probably would, for the last 9 games, I think we would do quite well. I'd be surprised if we just came back and just fell off again.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. You know, as you were saying, we are the fittest team in the league. You know, that by a long way. You know, we know what Bielsa puts for players through, and we're in the second season of having Bielsa at the club. So, you know, we definitely are the fittest team. And you know, during all this, you know, the players have been sent bikes. They've been sent, lists of what to eat. You know, how to train and stuff. And as you said last week, Charles, you saw Jamie Shackleton out on a run as well. Now, obviously, you know, I think every professional footballers, still training. They've got a training regime, they've got, an eating regime. But, you know, from my understanding as well, you know, the players, they can still go to Thorpe Arch and run around the track if they don't have anywhere to run around where they live. So they're still keeping themselves fit. And yeah, as you said, we probably had the fittest team. And if we were to go again this weekend, just out of the blue, you know, if they were going to say tomorrow, oh yeah, game on Saturday, you know, play it. I think that we would do well because we are very fit, and you know we're very good footballing side. You know, we're top of the championship table. So
for a reason.
Yeah, I mean this could be the longest time we've ever spent at the top of the championship table.
I think it probably is. I think if we go I think it's like another week or so. I think it probably is.
Fantastic. But yeah, the players, they are keeping themselves fit. But obviously, you know, it all depends, you know, if the season will be finished, and if it will, how it will be finished. I think that the players, you know, will need a couple of weeks, you know, 2-3 weeks just to get back into it all, because they probably haven't kicked a football for ages. You know, they're keeping themselves fit, but whether they're playing football is another question. You know, because So I've been on, like, you know, a few years ago when I was driving, I went on a 3-week holiday, came back, got in the car, and I had to get used to driving again. So if you haven't kicked a football for ages, you know, for weeks and months, you need to get used to kicking a football again, really. You know, you just need to get back used to it. So I do think that, you know, when football does return, the players will need 2 or 3 weeks just to prepare for everything. And it's going to be like a new season anyway. You know, if this season is going to be completed, when that restart comes, it is going to be like a new season. You know, this is now the pre-season, you know, because last pre-season you had the players, you know, especially Jack Harrison, you know, still doing a lot of training, a lot of gym work. So this is kind of like pre-season that we're going through right now. You know, the players will then return and you know, they'll be going back into it. And then when this season, you know, resumes, hopefully, it will be like a new season. And we always tend to do a lot better at the start of the season compared to the latter stages. So yeah, I do think we would still be, you know, on fire, as Jive says. We would still be on fire if the season starts. You know, it'll be difficult, I think, though. You know, of course, it'll be difficult for all players to get back into it, but it'll certainly be interesting. And yeah, as he says, you know, hopefully the season does resume, and yeah, I do think we will be on fire. Charles, do you think we'll still be at it, still be at top of our game when football returns?
I'm confident, yeah. I think we'll do well.
Yeah, and yeah, hopefully we do well, and yeah, hopefully the season does get resumed and we do go up, because we do need to go up this season, quite frankly. Yeah. We do need to go up. But thank you very much for the question, Jive. A very good question, and yeah, anyone who's listening or watching right now, get your questions in. You know, tweet at us, All Things Leeds 1 on Twitter, All Things Leeds 1 on Instagram, and All Things Leeds on Facebook, or just comment on the YouTube video. Just comment on there and on Facebook. You know, just get your questions in. That'll be fantastic. And me and Charles will do our best to answer them on this podcast. But that does bring us to the end of episode 61 of the All Things Leeds podcast. Another very different episode. But thank you very much to Charles, as always, for joining me.
Thank you for having me on, mate, despite the technical difficulties.
Yeah, a lot of technical difficulties, and we'll get them sorted for the next episode. But thank you for joining me. Thanks to everyone who has listened or watched. We really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed, then if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating on there. Maybe give us a good review. Share the podcast around as well. Follow on social media. All Things Leeds 1 on Twitter and Instagram, and All Things Leeds on Facebook. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. All Things Leeds on there. Check out the website as well. And yeah, during these difficult and unprecedented times, you know, I just want to remind everyone, you know, follow the advice, you know, save lives, take care, you know, save lives, save the NHS, and just, you know, stay at home as much as you can. But yeah, Charles, listen, stay safe, stay healthy. As I say,
will do, mate.
Have you got any plans for this evening?
Probably just going to watch the rest of that Still Until I Die series. That's probably the plan. have a cup of tea. I might read a book, and that's about it. Have a bath.
Same here, because there's not much to do. So yeah, same here. But yeah, everyone who's listening, make sure to follow all the advice to save lives, save the NHS. But yeah, take care, stay healthy, and we'll speak to you soon.